Now let's move on to human inherited disorders. So some disorders or some diseases are inherited. It's not your own fault. It is inherited by your parents or grandparents. So these genetic disorders, some genetic disorders are due to sex-linked inheritance. That means some genes are linked to these X chromosomes, especially X chromosomes. Y also have linked chromosomes. So most of these disorders are due to sex-linked inheritance. That means absence of that linked gene either in X or Y is the cause for these disorders. So even though X and Y chromosomes determine the human sex, all the genes present, this one particular thing in these two chromosomes is determining sex. But apart from that, there are so many other genes present in this chromosome, right? So that all the genes present on those sex determining chromosomes are not used to determine sex, not only to determine sex, right? So they determine some other characters. So most of these genes on X and Y um, uh, chromosomes determine other features as autosomal chromosomes. That means autosomal means, as I mentioned earlier, the characters, the the chromosomes that determine the characters of face, eyes, skin, bones, like that, right? So these sex hormones also determine those characters as well, apart from uh, determining the sex. So as I mentioned, this Y chromosome is shorter than X. So some genes may absent in Y. Uh, I mean, X may have that, but Y may, uh, that same gene may absent in Y. So that more and also some genes linked to X will be not present in Y because it's shorter. If another gene is linking at this position, right? So this Y chromosome doesn't have that region. So how can that gene link to this Y? So the linked genes also, sometimes the linked genes also absent in Y. So therefore most of the genes in X, whether they are dominant or recessive, they are phenotypically pheno, expressed in males. That means because they have only one X, right? So this gene if there's a gene at this position, right? So but this for this gene it is absent, that region. So what happens? This is the dominant one. This is not the recessive one because this doesn't have. In order to become recessive, it doesn't have a region. No? So, but when you take X, both of them have that region. So, depending on the dominant gene and the recessive gene, the dominant gene will be expressed in the first generation. Sometimes the recessive one also present in the first generation, or first means the next generation. So that's the reason. If you have hemophilia, so we are talking about it. Uh, Actually, females, even those sometimes they may have the uh, genetically incorrect form. I mean the gene which is not the exact gene for blood. Hemophilia is is happening due to the, you know there's a molecule called hemoglobin in our blood. So that hemoglobin molecule is not formed in this, formed correctly in this patients with hemophilia. So that character, so if you take this egg, right? If it is if it doesn't have that hemophilia, no, the hemoglobin, uh, if it has the wrong or the incorrect gene, actually it's incorrect, it's a mutation. That means it's a, mutated. What do you mean like that? It's like the normal pattern is not there. The same gene, but they are, the pattern is not as the normal, because it produces a different protein, and this produces the another protein. So this one is the correct form of the protein. So, uh, so this may have the disease gene. This will have the normal gene, but in females this normal gene will be dominant, because it's the if you take a population, most of the people have the correct form of hemoglobin, right? Only hemophilians, the patients with hemophilia have that uh, I mean uh, distorted protein or the hemoglobin molecule. So all the females will be what? Healthy, right? If it is like this. But when it comes to males, if this X doesn't have the correct or the healthy gene, but it will be expressed in that male, because it doesn't have the Y gene, doesn't have that gene. So the only gene that males have is the gene which is on the X chromosome, right? So then the males will show that disease, but females won't show, because they have a dominant one and a recessive one. Okay, so we'll do it in detail.